Hello, everybody. Hello. Thanks for being here today. Welcome to today's daily antidote of song. It's one of the most special days, of course, because we are doing our partnership with the American Folklife Center at the Library of Congress and bringing you an archive challenge Thursday, which we've been doing this month, and we've got one more coming up at the end of the month. So please join us. We love having the archive challenge Thursdays, and I'm so excited to have these guys all here with us today. Help me out, gang. Let's say hi to everybody out there on Facebook Live. Hi, folks. Nice to see you today.
Hello.
Thanks for joining. We're glad you're here. And for anybody who's new today, coming to us new, we are the Daily Antidote of Song, brought to you by Carpe Diem Arts. And we are one sing-along song every day at noon Eastern. You can always find us here for some good chat and some good singing along. We are today on day 1082. Thank you to Carolyn in Boise, Idaho for holding up a sign for me. 1082 days of singing, gang. So please join us. We're having so much fun in here, as you can tell. All right, I'm going to say hello to folks, and then we'll pass the baton over to Steve and Jen. So we'll start with saying hello to our artist for the day, BettySoo. Nice to have you with us today, and we'll be telling you more about her as we keep going. And of course, hello to Steve Winnick and Jennifer Cunning from the Library of Congress, American Folklife Center. Steve is a folklorist, and Jen is an ethnomusicologist, and they are going to be our hosts for today. We'll get back to them also in a minute. They're coming in from Tacoma Park, Maryland. Jaden Brick running tech for us today. Thanks, Jaden, for being here, Silver Spring, Maryland. Hi, Pauline in Newcastle, UK. Glad you're here today. And hi, William, even though we can't see it. There he is. Hi, William. We're glad you're here today, too. Nice to see you. Hugs and love to you. Hi to Susan in Ohio. Glad you're here. Kevin in DC with the Golden Flute. Glad you're here. Hi to Karen in Oregon. Nice to see you today. Cricket in Maryland. Sheila in Florida. Carolyn in Boise. Deborah in Kentucky. And someone who's connecting to audio. Glad you're almost here. Hoda in British Columbia. Good to see you. Kathleen in Albuquerque. Nice to have you. Kathy and Chico in Colorado. Hello. Storm in Massachusetts. Luda and Mark in Victoria. Thank you for being here today. Arlene in California, Deli in Maryland, Susan Miller in Seattle. Nice to see you today. Dory and Ollie, hello, in Rhode Island. Dan in Vienna, Virginia. Ruth in Birmingham, UK. Shari in New Hampshire, glad to have you back. Nice to see your face. Nancy's Irish Cow in Washington State. Curly Top, that looks like a Willard over there in Vermont. Nice to see you. Aloysius in Massachusetts, Penny and Ralph in Victoria, Jamie in Victoria, Harriet in Chicago. Nice to have you back again. Good to see you. Anne in Silver Spring. Hello. There's another Curly Top. Hi, Alice May. Nice to have you with us today. Mabel and a Bear in Massachusetts. Phil in Totnes, UK. Glad you made it today. Annette in California. And folks off video today, Jaden and Hindi in Toronto. And Jenny in Suffolk, UK. And Gloria, nice to have you with us today. I think you might be new to us. Welcome. Gary in Massachusetts, Carol in Connecticut, Fred in Maryland, Marjorie, Lynn in Connecticut. Let's take a deep breath. And we're going to turn it over to you, to two other folks who speak much more slowly than I do. Jen and Steve, we're so glad you're here. Welcome.
Why don't we try to do this as fast as Joe?
I'd never make it. Hey, everybody. I'm Jennifer Cutting, and this is Stephen Winnick. And I'll say it again just for folks who haven't done the Daily Antidote of Song Archive Challenge with us. I'll say it again just for you. We are folklife specialists from the Library of Congress. I was trained as an ethnomusicologist, and Steve was trained as a folklorist. And we consider ourselves to be the luckiest people in the whole world to work at the American Folklife Center. So welcome to the fourth of 5 Archive Challenge Thursdays on the Daily Antidote of Song, when the American Folklife Center at the Library of Congress partners with Carpe Diem Arts to bring you a new archival gem every Thursday in March. Speaking of March, today is March's coolest date because it's 3/23/23, which is actually, if you look at it, it's a palindrome. It's the same backwards as it is forward. So there must be something very lucky about that. It's also a very important day here in Washington, D.C., because our famous cherry blossoms are going to reach peak bloom today. And it's Cherry Blossom Festival time here in DC, and the whole city goes mad for the color of bright pink, which is why I'm wearing bright pink today.
So I'll just tell you a little bit about the Library of Congress. It was established in 1800, so it's the oldest federal cultural institution. And it's also the largest library in the world, which is kind of cool for us. And the American Folklife Center, which is our division of the library, is just a small part of the library. We have approximately 30 people on our staff, and the library has approximately 3,000 people. So we're about 1% of that giant library. But, you know, as they say, we're small but mighty, and we do a lot of great stuff. And we have a lot of great materials as well. So we love being here with you, and we're representing the American Folklife Center at the Library of Congress.
And I always like to give you a different fun fact about the Library of Congress every Thursday. So today's fun fact is about how much stuff we receive every day. The Library of Congress receives about 15,000 items every working day, mostly copyright deposits. And out of those 15,000 things we get every day, we keep about 12,000 of those things to add to the collections every day. So we've got about 167 million items. And now you know that grows by about 12,000 items per day. And it's no wonder we keep building those pods at Fort Meade to house all this stuff.
But on the other hand, our decluttering experts would be happy with us because we throw out 3,000 things a day. Imagine that. That's a lot of stuff. So in addition to maintaining the American Folklife Center archive, and our archive in the center comprises about 7 million items. And those are sound recordings and photographs and manuscript pages, primarily some moving images and things like that. And then we also provide reference services. We produce concerts and lectures and symposia. We create blogs and podcasts, which is mostly what my job is. And in addition to all that, one of the fun things we do is the Archive Challenge, where we invite artists to learn a song from our archive and then put their own spin on it and perform it. And we're going to tell you a little bit more about that and the different contexts in which we do that later on. So we hope you have time to stay around a little bit after we sing, but we did want to get to the singing as soon as possible.
Let's do it. We have BettySoo with us today. BettySoo is a consummate Texan. She was raised outside Houston by first-generation Korean immigrant parents and educated at the University of Texas. And she grew up listening to the Great American Songbook and country radio. And she had older sisters who led her to the world of singer-songwriters. And so she grew up to be a singer-songwriter and to win all kinds of songwriting awards herself. She's won New Folk at Kerrville, Mountain States New Song, and many others. She's also one of the hardest working performers out there. I looked at her calendar that shows, and it shows her performing almost every single night in a different place. She's played the country's top festivals and appeared on the top radio shows. And now she's here with us on the Daily Antidote song to sing something she chose from our archive. BettySoo, over to you.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. And thank you for your help. What Jennifer is not telling you, maybe she said it on previous broadcasts, but she's like, she emailed and said, okay, now we have an overwhelming number of songs in our archive. And if you start from without any, hints, you may get overwhelmed. So she sent a number of links to certain sections of the library's collection, and even that, I mean, I've spent hours just listening to these songs, and it didn't feel like homework. It just, it was really interesting, and to hear, little seeds of songs that I know. Of course, many of these songs have been recorded by people over the years, by lots of people, but I was just mesmerized to see how some of those songs have evolved, into kind of the modern versions that we know now. I found this song, that was one of many songs that Jean Ritchie sang, and that she knew from, I guess, all different times of her life, but beautiful voice, beautiful singer. And I was struck by how similar this song was to a lot of folk songs that I knew growing up. But but different enough, and really I found it very interesting. Um, and it was fun to set it to some accompaniment on the guitar, because I felt like there were a lot of directions it could go. Um, One very, very straightforward, but I decided to go just a little adjacent to that, to kind of stick to the melody as she sang it, but also to modernize the progression just a little bit. And it's called I Am a Traveling Creature. I am a traveling creature, a traveling through this land. Today I am a warning to woman and to man. Mother, hold my hand, hold up my dying head. I met a sinful woman in a far-off distant land. She come to me weeping, and she give to me her hand. Mother, hold my hand, hold up my dying head. Well, I asked that sinful woman if she'd ever tried to pray. She said, I did this morning, but the Spirit bid too late. Mother, hold my hand, hold up my dying head. Let's sing that, Mother, hold up my hand. Mother, hold my hand, hold up my dying head. And there you go. I am a traveling creature.
Wow. I really got chills when you were singing that. Oh, I think we're muted.
No, not anymore.
Okay. I really got chills when you were singing that. That was amazing. I mean, I got chills when I listened to the field recording, but to hear your interpretation of it with those beautiful guitar chords and the plaintiveness of it and the reminding us of our mortality, it was hits you right there. What attracted to you to you sifted through so many Jean Ritchie songs of so many different kinds, because she did, children's songs, she does religious songs, she does very old child ballads. I mean, you sifted through a lot of different kinds of songs. What about this one stood out for you?
I felt like this song was so similar in some of its phrasing and some of the themes to a lot of old folk songs, Wayfaring Stranger, and just and but it was but I also felt like it was so completely different from almost any song in this vein that I knew, because I feel like so many of those songs are very didactic, or very there's a real separation between the person who has the wisdom and the person who's living in folly.
Yeah.
And in this song, I really feel like we are hearing this woman be both the sinful woman and kind of the repentant, or even kind of the priest figure. She's
Mhm.
kind of all of those characters in one. And I was so fascinated by that, for her to be both the warning and the woman talking to the quote unquote sinful woman. And
Yeah.
and the chorus, there's like it's a little bit ambiguous if the chorus is herself or the other woman.
Hmm.
And
Right.
I just found all of that really interesting.
Yeah, it's complicated. It's mysterious.
Yeah.
It's, yeah, I
And
can
what
see.
does that mean? The spirit bid too late. I was like, what is
Yeah,
that? I was so fascinated by that line.
yeah, really cool. You found a cool one, and it suits your voice so well.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I just felt like this was such a magical set of lyrics, and her voice, and in the recording she is so haunting.
Hmm.
Um her
That's a
singing of
great
it.
word for it, haunting.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
just was totally captivated by it.
Well, we will hear the field recording from which you learned the song in just a minute. I just wanted to give you a little bit of background, all of you, in case, I mean, a lot of you know of Jean Ritchie, but for those of you who don't know about Jean Ritchie, I'll just tell you a little bit about this singer and the collection. Uh, this source singer for this song, Jean Ritchie, was born in 1922 as the youngest of 14 children in Viper, Kentucky, in the Cumberland Mountains, to one of the great ballad singing families of Kentucky. In fact, a few years before Jean was born, in 1917, the famous English folk song collector Cecil Sharp collected songs from Jean's older sisters, Mary and Una. Jean's dad sang and played the Appalachian dulcimer, an instrument that Jean grew up to popularize all over the world by accompanying her singing with it during performances, playing it on her albums. She even wrote some how-to books, how to play the Appalachian dulcimer. So let's see a photo of Jean with her dulcimer. If Jaden can pop that photo up. There she is with her dulcimer and her skirt spread around her on the grass in front of the hydrangeas. That's a classic kind of iconic Jean Ritchie picture. But to back up a little bit, Jean played and sang all the way through school and college, but decided to earn her bread and butter in a different way. She got a degree in social work, and after she graduated, she got a job at the Henry Street settlement in New York City. And she attracted the attention of folk musicians and folk fans everywhere by teaching the songs of her childhood, her Appalachian songs, to the children there in the settlement school. And among the musicians who admired her and made friends with her there were Woody Guthrie, Oscar Brand, Pete Seeger, and folklorist Alan Lomax.
And of course, Lomax was long associated with the Library of Congress. I'll mention something in regards to the tradition of Cecil Sharp collecting from Jean's family. There had long been a family story that Cecil Sharp had gotten an awful flu during his trip to the Appalachians and had been nursed back to health by one of Jean's sisters. But there was no sort of documentary evidence of this in the notes that Cecil Sharp took specifically relating to the songs. But he did keep detailed diaries, which just sort of sat around for almost 100 years. And eventually they were put online. They were scanned and put online by the Vaughan Williams Memorial Library. And I was able to poke through them and find that indeed that was true, that he had a terrible flu and one of Jean's sisters nursed him back to health. This was before Jean was born. She was the youngest of 14 children. So her oldest sister was more than 20 years older than she was. And she was the baby of the family. So she did meet all of these great folklorists. We've got pictures of her in the collections with Woody Guthrie and with all these people. But Alan Lomax became a particular good friend of hers. And he made extensive recordings of her particularly in 1949 and 1950 in New York City, where they both were living at the time. And in fact, in the recording from which BettySoo learned this song, you can actually hear the car horns and traffic in the background a little bit, which is great for me. That's my hometown. I was born and raised in Manhattan too, so it's kind of cool to hear those things on those recordings. So now we can hear part of that recording. I don't think we'll hear the traffic part because, you know, we don't need to hear everything, but we're going to hear the beginning of that recording.
Here's now, we were talking about the traveling creature. I think I might be able to do that. A verse of it. I am a traveling creature, a traveling through this land. Today I am a warning to woman and to man. Mother, hold my head, hold up my dying head.
Awesome. We got the car horns in there too. And Jennifer was just commenting that she could really hear Shirley Collins, the English folk singer, a little bit in that recording as well. And it's true that Shirley came to America in 1959 and met Gene, knew Gene well. And we have a picture of the three of them together, Alan Lomax, Shirley Collins, and Gene Ritchie. So yeah, that was that's definitely an influence there as well.
And I just want to remind you all, if you want to hear the rest of this field recording, because there's a point where Lomax says, do you know another verse? And she sings another verse. We can pop the link in there. Jaden just popped the link in there. You can listen to this as many times as you want. Field recordings, it teaches you patience. You sometimes have to listen to people go, and and the dog comes into the room or the cat comes into the room and the clock is ticking, the roosters are crowing, or depending on where you are, the car horns are going, and sometimes people forget a verse and they start over again. But I don't know, that's kind of the beauty of the field recording as well. It's real life. It's real time and real life.
Yeah, and you can hear a lot more of these field recordings of Gene Ritchie by Alan Lomax. We've got another link that'll give you all of those, that session or those sessions from 1949 and 1950. So we'll put that link in the Zoom as well. Oh, there it is. Okay.
There it is now.
All right. So I'll finish up Gene Ritchie's story just a little bit by saying that she was not only a great singer and tradition bearer, but she was also a great folklorist and collector. From the 1950s on, in both Britain and Ireland and the US, she went around and made great recordings of traditional singers and musicians. And her husband, George Pickow rather, was a great photographer and filmmaker. And he also contributed to the collection. So the collection that we have is a collection from both of them. And that's really handy because what it means is that for a lot of these recordings that we have such great, recordings of musicians, we also have really great photos of those same musicians from George. And that's an important part of this collection. And it's really nice to see. So when Jean died, I wrote a tribute to her on our blog with embedded recordings and photos. And we'll pop that into the chat as well.
And she deserved every word of that tribute. What a towering figure, just a huge figure in the American folk revival. An amazing tradition bearer. And speaking of the Folk Life Today blog, we also, Steve and I wrote a blog post about how you can take the archive challenge. Uncle Sam wants you. Steve and I want you. Joe Rossi wants you to take the archive challenge yourselves. We do the archive challenges in lots of different venues, including Folk Alliance conferences, festivals, and our own homegrown concert series at the Library of Congress. But when the pandemic hit, we decided that we had to come up with a way that our audiences could take the archive challenge from the comfort of your own homes. And we put instructions on how to do that into the blog. So here's the link. Jaden's going to share a link with us on that blog. On it's called Spending a Lot of Time at Home. Take the Archive Challenge. And there are folks here who would do a bang up job of a song from our archive. And what you do is you hunt around for a song that appeals to you. You learn it. You make a video of yourself playing and singing it, or just singing it. You don't have to accompany yourselves, and you put a special hashtag on it, and then we share it out.
Yeah, so that's a lot of fun. And the sort of main body of that blog, of course, is links to all the places online where our collections live, because they're not only on the Library of Congress website, but the Alan Lomax website called the Association for Cultural Equity has some. The University of Wisconsin has some. There's just a lot of our recordings that we share with other institutions, and so they might be online in other places. The Vaughan Williams Memorial Library, which I mentioned before, has got our James Madison Carpenter collection, which is a huge collection. So there's a lot of stuff, a lot of recordings from the American Folklife Center that you can find online, and you can adapt and perform for yourself. So now that we know a little bit of that background and history, and a little bit about the archive, it might be time to hear a little bit more of the song, or hear a little bit of the song again, if BettySoo is willing to reprise it a little bit.
Sure thing. I'd be happy to. Do you guys, it's not that long a song. Do you guys just want to sing the whole thing together again? Would that be fun? Okay. I don't know if fun is exactly the right adjective for this song, but I am a traveling creature, a traveling through this land. Today I am a warning to woman and to man. Mother, hold my hand, hold up my dying head. Well, I met a sinful woman in a far-off distant land. She come to me weeping, she give to me her hand. Mother, hold my hand, hold up my dying head. Well, I asked that sinful woman if she'd ever tried to pray. She said, I did this morning, but the Spirit bid too late. Oh, Mother, hold my hand, hold up my dying head. Mother, Mother, hold my hand, hold up my dying head. There we go.
All right.
I feel so still. I feel quieter and more peaceful now as I go about my day. Thank you so much, BettySoo. And You are a traveling creature, and we wish you well in your travels.
Thank you,
Thank
Jennifer
you.
and Stephen and Joe for always for the invitation and I loved hearing you guys talk about the library and the work that you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We love spreading the word about the library, but we also love spreading the word about great performers and songwriters like you. So it's a double value for us. So thank you for being part of it.
My pleasure.
And I want to mention to everyone out there that Figgy the Archive Cat is himself a traveling creature today. We're not sure exactly where in the house he's gotten to. He was here before we started, but then he wandered off. So
You might not see Figgy's face today, but it was so fabulous seeing all of your faces. And we want to thank our host, Joe Rossi, of course. We want to thank Jaden. We want to thank Carpe Diem Arts for keeping this wonderful daily sing-along alive. And thanks to all of you for making time to be with us today and learning more about the American Folklife Center archive at the Library of Congress and hearing BettySoo's fabulous take on one of our gems.
Thank you so much, Steve Winnick and Jennifer Cutting. BettySoo, what a great day. That is just an absolutely beautiful song, Betty, and you did such an amazing job with it. So can we please show appreciation again for BettySoo for a wonderful rendition of a Gene Ritchie song, and to Steve Winnick and Jennifer Cutting for being here and being fabulous hosts again, and for sharing all of those gems in the Library of Congress's collections with us. It is just such a blessing to be able to get into that. So we're going to say a thank you and a goodbye to everybody on the live stream for joining us. And for those of you here in our Zoom room and our virtual room, thank you for being here. I did notice some folks popping in near the end. If you missed it, and or if you're new, please stick around after everyone drops. We'll tell you how you can still hear it anyway. So thanks again to everybody, and folks, will you all help me wave everybody out of the room? So thank you so much to BettySoo for being here today, all the way from Texas, and hope to see you again soon. Today was BettySoo's, I think, third time in the room, and we love having you. So hope you can come back again.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, BettySoo. Bye. Have a great rest of your day. And Steve and Jen, thank you so much. I know things to do. You got to go figure out which 3,000 things to throw away. So
that's our next job, right?
thanks, guys. It's always great to have you here. Lots of love. And so thanks and love to Pauline and William in Newcastle. So great to see you guys. Thanks for being here. Bye. Lots of love. Susan G in Ohio. Thank you. Kevin in DC. Thank you. Karen in Oregon. Thank you. Cricket, thank you for being here all the way from Maryland, which is like next door to me. Thank you so much to Sheila in Florida, Carolyn in Boise, Deborah in Kentucky. Thank you to Kathleen in Albuquerque, Luda and Mark in Victoria, British Columbia, Arlene in Berkeley, California, Susan in Seattle, Dan in Vienna, Virginia. Great to see your smile today. Don in the curly tops, or at least the Willard half. Oh, and the Dawn half. There we go. Nice to see both of you today coming in from Virginies, Vermont. Thank you to Jamie in Victoria and Anne in Silver Spring, Maryland, Mabel and a bear, two bears, not to neglect anyone, in Massachusetts. Great to see you. Phil in Totnes, UK. Nice to see you strumming along on your guitar. Phil is a really good, likely candidate for an archive challenge, I have to say. We already know he can play and sing. Fred, not that the archive challenge should be limited to people who can play and sing. Whether you can play and sing or not, you should still try it. Fred in Silver Spring, Maryland, thank you so much. Great to see you singing along today. Rosalie, nice to have you here, coming in from Michigan. Thanks for your presence. Shari in New Hampshire, thank you. Great to see you again. Martha in Oregon, thank you so much for being here. And Annette in California, thank you. And Curly Tops 3 and 4, there's Leanna and Alice May. It was really lovely to see you singing along, Alice May. Diane in Puerto Rico, thanks for being here. Bob in Albany, Kathy in Colorado, Storm, Massachusetts, Dory and Ollie in Rhode Island. Jaden, thank you so much for running tech for us today. I know the challenge days are more challenging days, and you did a great job. Hoda in British Columbia, thank you. Aloysius in Western Mass, thank you. Harriet in Chicago, thank you. Gary in Massachusetts, Folks Off Video, Delhi, Hindi in Toronto, Jenny, Carol in Connecticut, and Lynn. Appreciate all of you being here today, and can't wait to see you all tomorrow for whatever fabulous things we have cooked up. Bye, gang.